The Secret Place by Michelle Stevens. Deepening your relationship with God. The purpose of this book is to invite you to have an intimate relationship with Christ, so much that I or anyone would be comfortable not only with the phrase, I'm in love with Jesus, but that Jesus is my lover, the lover of my soul. The theme of the book is the betrothal period of Christ for his bride, the church, the saved. His desire to be our all in all. The story: a young lady meets Christ each day on their date at their special place, their secret place, a fictional place, in her daily devotional. The story is told in a mysterious, allegorical, poetic, romantic style, using both modern and ancient literature, almost as in Sherlock Holmes' investigative style. The young lady's quest is to find out more about Christ, who is her date. He gives her clues, and then she has to go home and find out more about him by research. She meets him daily at their secret place. And though she has never seen him or she never sees him, she knows each day that he kept their date. Chapter 8. The next morning, I decided to follow his clue. Follow the trail of my flock, he said. The restaurant was positioned in a valley, positioned between several high mountains. One mountain resembled a man's skull. At times, it was eerie, and the shadow of death seemed to hang over it, depending on how the moon shined at times. I'd never traveled through the valley to get to the restaurant before, but had heard tell of flocks, herds, and shepherds there all the time. Maybe I'd get a glance of him that day. There were few occupations in the town, and shepherding had been one of the earliest, though it was a vigorous way of life. A shepherd had to be both brave and gentle, brave enough to defend against any kind of danger, but gentle enough to comfort his flock. He had talked about being a prince early on, so maybe this would give me the insight as to who he really was. Finally, making my way between the high mountains, there in the open field were cattle feeding, along with sheep, goats, cows, horses, camels, and asses. That had to be over 2,000. A family's wealth was measured by the size of the flock it owned. Shepherds most often were not the owners of the field and the flocks, as they were usually hired help to watch over the flocks that increased over 100 or more animals. The shepherd's main job was to provide constant care and protect the lives of the sheep by forfeiting his own life if necessary. The shepherd must be the guy I heard about, people talk about, whose father owned all the cattle upon 1,000 hills. I realized as I walked down through the valley how he'd gotten to the restaurant so many times before me. He must have slept in the valley with the sheep. Even with all the cattle there in the fields before me, my attention was fixated on the sheep. Each shepherd had his own flock, and from the distance where I stood, I couldn't see the faces of several of the shepherds because their backs were towards me. Several of them could be seen constantly bringing the sheep back, the ones that had wandered off and gone astray. I saw one man leave what had appeared to be all of 99 sheep and go after just one sheep. The sheep had broken free from the flock and headed toward the river pond, full of running water. I was no shepherd, but I knew that if the sheep's wool got soaked and heavy, it could easily drown. I chuckled because I could see myself in the personality of that sheep as a wanderer. That is, oftentimes I'd gone astray in so many areas of my life. One could say that I was directionally challenged at times and off course in my journey of life. Like the sheep in the valley, I have felt a watchful eye upon me no matter how far I was pulled off the path. And so many times I've broken free, running towards what I thought was good, yet not knowing that I was in imminent danger. I could hear one of the shepherds' first name being called throughout the valley as they beckoned for each other to reclaim the sheep that had gotten mixed up with their own. I overheard a shepherd call out, "Good, good." One of the shepherds turned around and turned towards me slightly, and I could see that his right hand, there was a rod, and in his left hand he had a staff. Why had he turned when the word good had been called out? His reply had been, here I am, the good shepherd. But why were they calling him the good? The good were known around town, and their name meant one who performed good deeds and acts of kindness. They were a noble, wholesome family known for their upright character, a royal and righteous family. It didn't appear that any of his sheep were missing because from where and what I could see, they were all lying down in the shaded part of the valley in the green pastures, beside the quiet waters, the quiet part of the stream what apparently he had sectioned off just for them. Where was he? He had told me to follow his flock. Oh, that's him, the one that spoke the words, I am. That's him. Excited that I may get to finally see him, I headed towards him in full sprint, pen, pad, paper, and tape recorder in hand. Finally, I'll see him face to face. Suddenly, there was a howling sound like that of a coyote, and then came the mayhem. Shepherds were on high alert, flocks mingling together, all the flocks except the good shepherds. The only thing I heard him say was, listen to my voice. His sheep moved in a docile line, ready to accept control in a very submissive manner, and they didn't even seem to perceive the danger that they were in. And with that, he disappeared into the mirage of the herds and herdsmen. Although I didn't have my watch, I could tell that our meeting time was nearing by the dew that was lifting off the water, by the bright morning star, and the sun as it crested the top of the mountain. I hurried to the restaurant, a bit disappointed because the opportunity to meet him face to face had eluded me yet again. Yet I knew he would be faithful to meet me in our special place, in our secret place. Not sure which way the coyote was, I chose a different route. With my head hung low, I headed to the restaurant as I kicked the pebbles along the path that had fallen from the mountaintops. In that part of the valley, that pathway, there was nothing but dusty trails. At a distance, I could see a dust storm, strong winds blowing intensely over the soil, and in its path, it picked up all kind of debris. My visibility was distractedly reduced as the dust and dirt swirled around me, to the point that I could not hardly see my hands in front of me. I was fearful, not of being in the storm, not even about anything evil, but about missing my meeting. I kept walking, unsure of what was ahead, yet certain that I needed to keep going. From nowhere came the feeling that I was being watched, that feeling of a watchful eye. The storm stopped right in front of me, about 100 yards away. My pathway was now full of petals in the sand that spelled out a message. 1 Peter 2:25. For you were straying like a sheep, but have now returned to the shepherd and overseer of your souls. At the end of the sentence, at the end of the word souls, it was punctuated with a single lily. The good shepherd. Did he know I'll come this way? Did he know the path that I would take? Had he planned on me coming this way? I squatted down to pick up the lily and took a quick look around. Still, I saw no one. I saw nothing except me, my belongings, and now this single lily. When I reached the restaurant, I was covered with dust. I felt like a lifeless piece of skin. I felt like nothing but walking dust. The waitress was headed straight towards me, reaching out for my belongings to assist me. As she leaned towards me, I caught a glimpse of her name tag. It said Angel. Angel Ruach. Her name was Angel Ruach. I had never thought to ask her that before, but she was like a breath of fresh air to my old dusty body. Angel was so full of life, full of spirit. And she was a spunky lady with a pureness about her, somewhat holy persona. She helped with all of my belongings and gave special care to the handling of my lily. She extended her right hand towards the table where it always sat and placed my things on the table. "Thank you, Angel. Thank you," was all I could muster up. I picked up the lily and twirled it between my fingers. How did a single lily have life there in the valley, where there were no other lilies growing nearby, as far as I could see? Surely he hadn't beaten me here again. I just seen him in the valley, and I'd taken the shortcut. Angel came back carrying a wet paper towel, my usual glass of water, and bread, and said, "Hon, here's a napkin to wash the dust from your face. Mighty kind of you, Angel." I needed that. By that time, Angel knew that I was there to meet someone, and although she didn't know who, we had never carried on as much as a conversation before. I think she might have started to feel sorry for me, thinking I was being stood up. But then again, I'm not sure that she thought that at all. I believe she knew more than she let on. That's why she told me to look for the unseen things in things. Did she know him? Was she in on this mystery being revealed? I laid the wet paper towel on the table. I reached for my water, and the glass slipped right out of my hand and onto the floor, shattering into 100 pieces. Angel hurried over to help me, and as we both knelt down to pick up the broken pieces, Angel stood directly in front of me, blocking my view of the door. I was hoping he hadn't come in and leave, thinking I wasn't there. Finally, all of the pieces were picked up, and I lifted up my head. I saw a man with his back towards us, placing a flower pot containing a single lily in the window. A lily like the one I found in the valley. I moved my head so I could see around Angel and saw that he was leaving. Wait, is that you?" He kept walking. "Angel, who is that? That man, the one that put the flower in the windowsill. The flower like the one I found in the valley." "Oh, hon, that's the gardener. The good gardener, True-Vine. Comes in every morning, places a fresh lily in the windowsill. A sheer beaut, huh? Prettiest flower I ever seen. Better than all the other flowers. The sweetest smelling flower on earth. Hon, that there is called a lily. Known around here as the lily of the valley. Heard tell that flower there's more than declaration of majesty. Talk around here says it helps soothe pain and even help heal." From the look of affection in her eyes, I knew she knew him, the gardener, personally. We finished picking up the pieces, and I rested back in my chair. That had been him. He had placed a fresh lily there every morning, yet I never seen him. Or had I? And had I just not noticed? I had my work cut out for me. "Hey, Angel. Angel." I called after her. "Yes?" she asked as she turned towards me. "Do you know him, the gardener?" She chuckled. "My name ain't Spirit for nothing," and walked away to help the next table. When I was walking out the door, I heard a male voice saying, "I am the lily of the valley. As an eagle spreads his wings, so will I spread my petals for you. Like a lily among the thorns, so is my darling among the maidens. For you, my darling, I will spread my petals." Oh my goodness, it's him. I turned around quickly and I ran towards him. This time he won't escape me. "Hey, you, it's you, isn't it?" He stopped, stunned, like a deer in headlights. His reply, "Well, ma'am, depends on who you're looking for, young lady." You were the one singing that song about spreading your petals." Yes, ma'am, I was." "So you spread the lily petals in the valley?" No, ma'am, I didn't. My name's David. I'm a psalmist. Got a concert in town, and I just got here a minute ago." Those there lyrics, ma'am, you heard? They were from an album called Celebration of Love. Lyrics from a song called Spread My Petals. Oh, now I recognize him. He was David. David, the shepherd boy turned psalmist. Townspeople said he was skillful on the lyre, wise in speech, and very brave in battle. Said many of his hymns were written during some of his most troublesome times. I knew him from the song titled Psalm 51. He was really lamenting in that psalm over something he had done, and he was desperately wanted to be forgiven. He likened being unforgiven to his lips being sealed. And for a psalmist, that's some kind of tragedy, as speech is the essence of who they are. My heart was saddened a little as I said, "Oh, please forgive me. I thought you were someone else." "No harm done, ma'am. Here, take one of my flyers. Come be my special guest." Sure enough, underneath his pictures was the word, "Soak me in your laundry, and I'll come out clean. Scrub me, and I'll have a snow white life. Turn me into foot-tapping songs. Set these once broken bones to dancing. Don't look too close for my blemishes. Give me a clean bill of health. God, make me a fresh start in me. Shape a Genesis week from the chaos of my life. Don't throw me out with the trash or fail to breathe holiness in me. Bring me back from great exile. Put a fresh wind in my sail. Give me a job teaching rebels your way so that the lost can find their home. Commute my death sentence, God, my salvation God, and I'll sing anthems to your life-giving ways. Unbutton my lips, dear God, and I'll let loose with your praise." It was a different version than the way that I've heard it sung, but nonetheless, he was the author. He was the one that penned Psalm 51. The version I often heard him saying was, "Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners will be converted unto thee. Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, thou God of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of thy righteousness. O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praises." Thank you, sir. I just might come. Now, I won't lie, there was a joy in meeting the famous David, King David they called him. But he was not the one that I longed for, not the one that I wanted to meet, not the one that I wanted to know. He was not him, the one who my soul loves. I took my normal route home. I needn't travel back through the valley. By the time I made it home, I was exhausted. As soon as I flopped my body on the couch, I dozed off. I was asleep, but my heart was awake. A voice. My beloved was knocking. "Open to me, my sister, my darling, my dove, my perfect one. For my head is drenched with dew, my locks with the damp night. I've taken off my robe. Must I put it on again? I've washed my feet. Must I soil them again? My beloved thrust his hands through the latch, opening my heart, began to pound for him. I arose to open for my beloved, and my hands dripped with myrrh, my fingers with flowing myrrh on the handles of the bolt. I opened for my beloved, but my beloved had left. He was gone. My heart sank at his departure. I looked for him, but did not find him. I called him, but he did not answer. I was suddenly wakened by loud music. Startled, I jumped up to my feet. And quickly gathering my thoughts, I realized in my rush to leave that morning, I had left the television on in the bedroom. It was playing the finale music to the end of the movie. I shuffled to the bedroom, picked up the remote from off my bed, and intrigued by what I had just heard, I hit the info button on the remote, and it read, "You have just watched Song of Solomon, a series of lyrical poems, a romantic dialogue between a young woman and her lover. A third party or chorus occasionally addressed the lovers." That's what I heard. I definitely wanted to catch the next series, but for now, all I wanted was sleep. I turned off the television, climbed into bed, ready to see the mysteries that awaited me tomorrow. My invitation to you is that you would visit the secret place. Be open and honest in that place. God knows that we're not going to be perfect. He knows that we will not get it right the first time, the second time, or maybe even the third time. He's not a ritualistic, legalistic God. He is a God of liberty, love, mercy, and grace. Jesus Christ came to settle our shortcomings and solve them on the cross. And our God is not bound by time or place. And although He meets us where we are, He is not confined to our place of comfort or familiarity. He is the governor of the universe. Even the winds and the seas obey Him. We cannot box Him in, and He may not show up how or when you think He should. So learn to see Him in the unseen. I promise you'll get to know Him more and more as you visit Him in your own secret place.